Hello everybody, Shane from Shane's Books and Review, and today we're going to be talking about The Singularity Trap, wrote by Dennis E. Taylor. First things first, I've got to thank somebody, and that person is Caleb Pike from DSLR Video Shooter. He gave me some hints last night about using the lights that I have in a better way, and as you can tell, I've got these nice dramatic shadows now, and I'm not washed out either, which, yes. Thank you very much. As I was saying, it is The Singularity Trap from Dennis E. Taylor, and this is not going to be a review. This is going to be more of an overview. So there will be spoilers. And if you don't want those, but you do want to get a good feel of the book, if it would be a good fit for you, perhaps you should check this video out. As the book opens, we have Ivan Prechin. He is a computer guy, and he and his family have been having a hard time because the earth is desolate. It is going to a point of just expenditure. All the resources are gone, and on top of the resources being gone, we also have issues with air quality and money. The finances are so tight that even as a doctor, you would have a hard time making it. He decides to join up with the Mad Astra after he and his wife do have some conversations. She does some math to figure out the odds on how much of a long shot it is, and feels like it's time for him to do that. So regardless of if it's a complete failure, he would have to pay the rest of his life to pay for the training that he got. He decided to give it a shot. And this is where his life goes awry. The beginning of the book, it's not really slow to start. It's go time, which is awesome. And so you get to meet some of the main characters just right off the bat because everybody's in a ship that's going to shoot them to a station. And we meet Tins Davis. And he's probably one of my favorite characters because he's grizzled. He's this big, burly guy that's got a big mouth on him in a way, but he's also got that coach type way about him of, yeah, let's just see how we can do this. Or a lot of the times it's more of a fatherly type of a engagement, but underhanded. You also get to meet people like the doctor that he really gets on with, and then there's Seth, which Seth describes himself as his best friend at one point, and then there's Spazzy, which is a pilot of sorts for the shuttle. And this brings me to one of my points about the narration in the book. One, the way that Dennis Taylor wrote it, it was really well done. Two, Ray Porter and his narration of this book was just phenomenal, really. In the past, whenever I have talked with other people about books and reading, and they tell me that they don't have time, but they do a lot of driving, I'm like, have you ever thought about audiobooks? Because it's something you can use, that you can take little journeys with, but everybody kind of looks at me like I'm crazy. I guess there's still a stigma about that. I enjoy a hard copy book just as much as I do an audio source, so I'm equal, and I don't care. I am equal opportunity in that way, for sure. And to be fair, for that point, there are people that have done narrations for books that I wonder just exactly how they got the gig. Because it can be distracting whenever all these special effects are thrown onto something, or whenever there's too much reverb, or if they're trying to enact a scene by using special effects. There's a time and a place for some things, and some things, if overdone, can ruin the experience of the book, because your mind has a way of doing those things for you when you're listening to something, just the same as your mind has a way of building the scene when you're reading a book. It's the difference between telling and showing. But anyway, that's a whole different thing altogether. Back to The Singularity Trap, right here. There it is. Whenever they're getting to this station, there's one scene, and I'm going to say, oomph. That come up a couple times in the book, and each time it did, the way that it was portrayed, I laughed like a madman. Once on the station and they're prepping to go, there's a scene in a bar where everything is so expensive, it's almost like a month ration worth of money just to have one drink. And then they move on to another location, and they're expecting to get the new guy to screw up in a big way because he's in 0G now. But the joke's on them because he's had training already and he's ready to go. So instead of squirting the shot out of his nose, he actually swallows it and then explains the situation of, yes, I've already been through training. Sorry, I'm not going to give you a show. Now let's jump ahead a little bit, because there's a little bit of character development that happens from that point until they actually get to Big Rock and Little Rock. On Big Rock, they do a scan and they're getting ready to depart, but then they get a message telling them that they need to do a rescan. They need to check it out a second time because the materials that are inside of it might be a grand amount. And so as Seth and Davies and Ivan are on the rock getting the samples, everybody's buzzing around trying to take a look at things, and Tins has one of his moments where he's like, there's more of us outside of the ship than in the ship. You need to go. Which was awesome. But then Seth and Ivan had been talking about this anomaly that was seen on Little Rock, and here was where the story takes off. Because as soon as they get there, they start digging where it's supposed to be, and Ivan of course finds it and then gets attacked. But the attack wasn't really an attack. It was just a deployment of nanites. Woo. He gets stuck in this trap, and by stuck, the trap actually attaches itself to him and then converts him into a machine. And even though this is going to be more of an overview, there's still going to be a lot of stuff I'm going to leave out on purpose because I still want to encourage you to read this. There's a lot of dynamic type things that happen from that point forward, such as the conversion process, what he goes through, the doctor that does the examinations with him. There's a subplot that has to do with the military, that they were trying to eliminate him because of the threat that it could give the Earth if those nanites were to start to convert everything on the Earth into nanites. And then there's also another plot line or idea that you could think of as a plot line of what the nanites themselves are trying to accomplish, want to accomplish, and if they will work with Ivan against Ivan, or if Ivan will work with them. Even though it's very simple whenever you read it, the way I just said that makes it sound really complex. And it's because with the interweavings of that story, it is a complex web, and that's what made it so enjoyable for me. And then there's the whole thing with the computer and Ivan. I found that highly enjoyable, mainly because the computer, or as he named it, Ralph, has its own goal set of what it needs and wants to accomplish because of the way that it was designed. And Ivan using the confusing English language to better that computer, and then also to give humanity a way to do something if they can get their acts together. Would it be enjoyable if this got turned into another book? Yeah, it would. I think a lot of people could get behind that. I would respect Dennis E. Taylor a lot if he decided to leave this as a single book. And here's why. Sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes whenever you write a series of books, the first one's awesome. The second one gives you the back filler that you didn't get in the first one, expands on the story a little bit, and then usually wraps it up fairly good. And then the third one that comes out after that is usually garbage. I hate to say that, but that's true. I'm not saying that about the Bobiverse books, but there's multiple instances of stories I've read that were like that. So if you were to leave the story as is, not add to it, not explain anything else, just here it is, and let us run with it, that would be a pretty awesome thing. But that's my opinion. So what's yours? What do you think about it? Would you like to see more from him? Would you like to see more on the Singularity Trap? I think it was wrapped up fairly nice and neat. Not necessarily cleanly, but in a way that was realistic. If a guy on a mining vessel in the middle of space happens to fall into a trap because he wanted to poke it and then gets converted into a metallic machine that is actually a neural net, wide distributed network processing subspace machine. Yes, realistic. Anyway, this has been Shane from Shane's Books and Review. I hope you enjoyed what you watched. If you did and you want to share it, please feel free to do so. That only helps the channel grow, and I appreciate that in a big, big way. Also, if you find a good book in between now and the next video, tell me about it down there in the description, and we will read it together and maybe discuss it a little bit. If you're new to the channel, we would love to have you join the family. There's a subscribe button down here. Don't forget about the bell for notifications. I hope you guys all have a great weekend. This has been Shane from Shane's Books and Review, and I'll see you in the next video.